Moms for Liberty really worked miracles.
We have a crisis in America in public education. This is the future of our kids and our country.
You are joyful warriors.
And we are just getting started. Welcome to the Fire of Liberty show, where we bring to you moms and dads from the front lines. And today we are excited because we have Karen Fulton here, my friend Karen, who is the chapter chair of the Brevard County, Florida chapter. I'm Tina Deskovich. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Moms for Liberty. And I'm so excited because Karen has been my friend for a very long time, way before Moms for Liberty. And Karen was around from the very beginning. And so we are going to dig in a little bit to Karen's story and the Moms for Liberty story. So welcome, Karen.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
I don't have to say welcome to Florida because you just live down the street.
Exactly. So. Which is great.
We do live in a beautiful place.
We're very, very lucky. I love it here.
I do too. When did you move to the area?
We came in 2009.
Gosh, that's been quite a while.
Yeah.
I've lived here most of my life, and every day driving over the causeway, the dolphins.
They're the best. Yeah. No, it's a great place to live. It's a great place for families.
And you're kind of spoiled because you actually live on the water.
We do have dolphins in our backyard.
Yeah. I have sat in not the living room, but that side room, music room. What do you call that room over there?
We call it the jungle room.
The jungle room. I have sat in that jungle room, and the way your windows are with the water, it's crazy. It's almost like you're on a boat when you're in there if you're sitting on the couch because you can't see the land in between.
Yeah.
And so you just see dolphins and manatees, and it's
the best.
It's
really
pretty
is.
magical.
Yeah.
You're kind of blessed.
Yeah, we are. We try not to take it for granted. We do love it.
Yeah, you guys are good people.
Oh, thanks, Tina.
Yeah, of course. It's a good way to butter you up before I get you to share all your hardships. Okay, so with you, so far this is episode 4, and so far everyone we've talked to, their activism has started during COVID. But what's interesting about you and unique about you is your activism started, I think, at 9 years old. Yes. And so I think it's a great story. And so I was hoping you'd share with us a little bit about what activism for a 9-year-old looks like.
Okay. Well, I was very fortunate because I was raised by parents who were very patriotic, who loved America, and who loved our family. And when I was born in 1961, and in 1960,
you just gave your age away.
That's okay.
To all of the internet knows.
That's
now.
Okay. I'm 64 years old. It's not a secret. And my brother was born in 1965, and he has Down syndrome. And at the time, it was a real pivotal time. Like people were before that had been institutionalizing children that were born with special needs. And, but at the time he was born, it was just beginning to change, where people were, having them be in the home. And so that's what my family wanted to do against medical advice. They were told not to do that, but my mother just felt like that's what they needed to do.
So excuse my not knowing here.
That's
so
okay.
Down syndrome children before the 50s, at what age would they be institutionalized? When did
from the beginning,
Wow.
as a baby. Like they didn't want my parents to take him home.
Wow.
And so they were very concerned about our family. They were very concerned about me. They called me the little princess, and the pediatrician was like, "This is not going to be good for the little princess."
Oh my heck.
I know, right? David has been the best thing that's ever happened in my life. And so anyway, it's hard on marriages. It's hard on families. And that's very, very true. But my family embraced it. And so brought David home. I'm not saying it was all wonderful, because there have been horrible, hard times in our experience, but way overshadowed by the good times. And so we moved to Charlotte, North Carolina. That's where I grew up. And at the time there were no services. And so my mom, and I'm not quite sure how she got into this, but she found what they called a mother's group.
Because she's a mom. That's why.
She's a mom. And that's what they called each other. Is
full
the mother's
disclaimer, I knew Dot has passed now, but I knew Dot, and I'm not surprised one bit when you started telling me about her activism. But Go ahead. I'm going to let you share your story.
She was a spitfire. So, so this mother's group got together and said, well, we have to have services for these kids. So they approached a church and they started a kindergarten. for just special needs children. And so that took them for the first year. But then after that, once again, they were faced with the fact that there were no services. So they went to Charlotte Mecklenburg schools and said, what can you offer us? And they said, well, we have this condemned school downtown that we could give you. And they did pay for some teachers. And so they did that. And it was a horrible school. I mean, it really was falling apart. There was no central air conditioning in, North Carolina. Sometimes it was a little difficult. But it was all they had.
But Dot probably sewed some curtains or something, I'm guessing, to make
made
that
some cookies for sure. And so, it was fine. And they were grateful. They were grateful for what they had, and were grateful that their children had a place to go and could be taught. So they did that until 1970, when Public Law 94-142 was put into place, and that provided a free and appropriate education for every child in America from the time they're 3 years old to the time they're 21 years old. And so that was the game changer. But to get to that point, we did a lot of demonstrating. We did a lot of letter writing. And it was a family affair. I stuffed envelopes and I put stamps on, and it was we got together with this big group of people. One of the fathers from the mother's group ran for school board. So we campaigned for him.
Karen, I did not know the depths of this before. It's now I understand your magnetism to Moms for Liberty, but keep going.
Yeah. So anyway,
a dad in the group. I love that there's
that was really fun. That we got to participate in his campaign, and he was a member of the school board, which really helped to further the parental rights of the handicapped also. And so it was a sort of this journey that they all went on. But like I said, 94-142 was really the pivotal part, because that really gave some meat to what they were doing. And so they went back to Charlotte Mecklenburg schools and said, okay, we have this dilapidated school. Now, what can you do for us now? And so they said, we're going to build you a school. And so they built them a brand new school on the property of where the school had been. So they demolished it, because it really was falling apart, and they built a new school. And that school stands today. And so, my parents were always involved in that kind of thing. They were involved as David got older. They were involved in group homes, bringing group homes to Charlotte. They were involved on boards. And so anyway, I grew up that way, but a very patriotic family, very much loved America. And so that's just how I was raised to that.
Tell me about the activism, your role. So you're stuffing envelopes.
Mm-hmm.
We
went door to door campaign, just like we do now. Exactly.
So this is all second nature for you.
Yeah.
What was it like as a child to be part of that for your brother? Like how did that feel to you? Was it work? Were you like, why am I not playing with my friends? Why this is not that fun? Or was it fulfilling in a way?
It was fulfilling. I can't lie. There were times where it was like, oh my goodness, I got this big stack of papers and all these envelopes. And so I might have put a few papers in one envelope rather than
trying to get rid of them quicker.
Yeah, exactly. But no, it was I've always been attached to my brother, always. And so I very much believed in the mission that they were on. And I was fine to do that. That was just what I was expected to do, and that's what we did. And we did it for him and for his friends. That we were all very, very close with all of those people. So
I often wonder, I'm sure you and most people do, just wonder why some people are born Down syndrome. But then you look at some of the beautiful things that happen, the transformation that happens to people around them, to their loved ones. And I think some of those questions get answered. Do you have any thoughts?
Well, I do. I feel like I've so many skills or qualities that I have as an adult have definitely come from him teaching me And we've always been very, very, very close. It was just the two of us in our family, 2 children. And so, even today, I'm very attached to him. Our whole family is very attached to him. And,
Everybody loves David.
yeah. And, when he was younger, he was something else. I mean, he had a lot of spunk and a lot. I could write a book.
Tell me one thing that he's taught you.
He has taught me patience for sure.
I think all children
do teach patience, and my own children have taught me patience. But with David, it was probably a higher level of that for sure. Yeah, and understanding and acceptance, and accepting whatever he could give.
Yeah. The limitations of humanity. That's
exactly. Yeah. And I always felt like I was so blessed to have what I had, just to have my intellect, and so I should do something with it. I should try to help people.
Yeah. So. I love it. And again, everybody loves David. And so, yeah. Your family's pretty cherished around here, I would say.
Oh, that's so nice. Thank you.
So this leads you to your career choice of
yes.
where you ended up, which was, I think that's an important part of your story and conversation, and especially as it leads into your role with Moms for Liberty.
Yeah. So from the beginning, I wanted to be a special ed teacher, and my parents did not want me to do that. They tried to discourage me from that. My father said, "My goodness, you've had this your whole life. Why don't you choose something else and, broaden yourself?" But I knew that I wanted to do it. I knew I was good at it. I knew that I had skills that I could work with people like that. And I always felt really fortunate to be able to have an understanding for the parents and for the families, for the siblings of my students. I thought that made me a better teacher. It made me a better teacher to think that I had colleagues that would say, geez, why can't these parents do better with this kid or that kid, And I think, this kid goes home on Friday afternoon and is with those parents all weekend. This kid goes home at the end of the school year and is with those people all summer long. These people are going to be dealing with this child for the rest of their lives. They know that one day they're going to leave school and they still have that responsibility. And so that puts a different color on it, I think. And so I felt like that made me a better teacher to understand that. And I had great relationships with my parents and even the siblings. It was a good experience. Yeah. I loved my job as a special ed teacher. I did it for 15 years.
What grades, what ages did you teach?
So my first 9 years, I taught high school, which was not what I intended. I had gone to college and really concentrated on younger kids and like preschoolers and early elementary. And when I got out, I was offered a job at the high school. And I said, sure, I can do that. And I was 22 years old and some of those kids were 21. My first year,
some bigger than you, I'm imagining, right?
That's yes. Nice. And my first year of teaching, we got our yearbook, and I was in my teacher picture was in the senior pictures.
Oh my goodness! Are you serious?
I was very young looking, and so I loved teaching high school. I love teaching kids how to do practical things. We rode the bus around town all the time. We went to grocery stores and learned how to go grocery shopping. We went to bowling alleys. It was kind of just a fun job.
Yeah, that sounds actually really fun. I don't know that I don't know that type of education is happening right now.
Well, I think it is actually. Really? Funny you'd say that because I was my brother's in a residential facility and so I went to get him one day. I go once a week. I go to Titusville, take him to lunch. So I was doing that. We were in Wendy's, and who walks in but this class of special needs kids and their teachers. And I was just like, oh, wow. It just took me back to that's exactly what I used to do. And so I talked to the teacher, and she was very nice. And they get those kids out because that's how they need to learn,
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah. So that goes on today. Some things never change.
Well, at least the good things bring them forward.
I hope.
And so then we go from Karen teacher to Karen mom.
Yes.
I know you, so I know that you have 2 children.
I do.
And to my understanding, you eventually stayed home with your kids.
I did. I taught school. My husband was being trained. And so he's a physician. And so it took him a long time to be trained. And so during those years, we decided that it would be good for me to work. And so I taught, and I was always very grateful that I enjoyed my job and felt fulfilled by that. But always wanted to really be with my children as much as possible. And so when he finished his training, the first thing we did was I quit my job and stayed home with them. But I still was a teacher at heart, and I still wanted to be in the classroom. I still loved that. And
were you one of those moms? You were there, like,
I was one of
knocking at
those
the door
moms.
every day. Like, look, can I make you copies? Can I read to the kids?
That's
It's
exactly
great.
what I did.
It's good.
And it was great because I was always, I was very close to my children's teachers, and they were grateful to have someone with some experience because they let me take care of some of the special needs kids in the classroom. And it was great, so I did have a lot of experience in my children's classrooms until they didn't really want me in those classrooms.
It's a sad day when as parents, when we get to that day.
Yeah.
So then, I'm going to enter, I guess, me into your life. So I
Okay.
meet you. Yeah. We're going to
Let's
jump
do it.
all the way to, what year did you move here?
2009.
Yeah. I think we met. I
Right
don't
away.
remember exactly when, but around
Yeah.
that time period, I think we quickly became probably good friends. And we're going to jump from 2009 and we're going to go all the way to 2020.
Yes.
And we're not going to talk about COVID, but we're going to talk about, these events that I decided to host in my house called Life, Liberty, and Chocolate.
I loved it.
So, just like everyone else in 2020, just kind of floundering around on what to do, because even here in Florida, things were shut down. Everybody was staying away from each other. And I called up my friend Marie, who was with us for the first few years at Moms for Liberty and served
Love
on our,
Marie, yes.
And we were commiserating, about some of the things that were happening and how that was stepping all over our rights. And so either she or I said, I just want to get together and read the Declaration of Independence.
Why not?
What a bunch of dorks. And we both were very excited about that idea.
Yes.
And I love chocolate, which Life,
Sure.
Liberty, and Chocolate. And so Marie was going to come over to my house and we were going to print off copies of the Declaration of Independence. And we were just going to read through it together and eat chocolate. And I had the bright idea to make a Facebook group out of it and invite all of our friends that might want to come to it. And you were on that list.
Karen likes chocolate.
Karen
She probably likes the Declaration of Independence.
Well, and you're just fun to be around. I didn't know how you felt about anything really,
Right,
but
right.
I thought, well, Karen's kind of fun. She'll be fun to have here. And she usually brings good treats. And so, I don't know, maybe 12 people or so,
Yeah.
would you say, that
Yeah,
first night in my house?
It really did fulfill even though we're not really talking about COVID, it did really fulfill a social situation, because we didn't have a lot of social situations. So that was really nice to be able to go into a place without a mask and just sit there and talk.
Mm-hmm.
And we did read the Declaration of Independence.
We did.
It's a very long time to get through.
So the spread, of course, not that
Yes.
that's a priority, but the spread
Sure.
was the first 2 meetings was really ridiculous. For
Yes.
12 people, we had enough
had
treats,
so
desserts, and
much.
chocolates for probably 50.
Yes.
So we started scaling back
Yes.
over times, but we ended up meeting weekly.
Mm-hmm.
And that first night, we started with the Declaration of Independence. The goal was to get through the Declaration and the Constitution. And
Mm-hmm.
just so everyone knows, these have evolved into the Moms for Liberty Madison Meetup program. And so we pull out our Declaration of Independence and we are reading it line by line and having a discussion. And I want to say it took 3 months to get through the Declaration.
It did take a long time.
We would dissect. We really got into it.
We had great conversations.
And then people started bringing supplemental materials. Colette Cooper showed up with the book this thick. Do you remember that book? And then we all got copies. And it really turned into something. And we really started to understand our rights better, our founding documents better, reading the words from the framers as they were in the Constitutional Convention and debating in the Federalist Papers and writing about these things. It was, I found it just really exciting, but I want to know your thoughts because
I found it very inspirational. Like, yes, why we need to remember these things and we need to be able to apply them to our lives now. I very much enjoyed it. I enjoyed the chocolate. I enjoyed the camaraderie. What a great group of women that we had gathered. I still love every one of them. It's, that was a huge part of it, but just being able to, express our views amongst people who were like-minded, was very comforting, really was helpful.
Yeah, we were able to bring some of the things that were happening in the world to discuss and just feel normal and have a good time. But digging into those documents, there was something deeply inspiring about it.
Definitely.
Which then led to our Madison Meetup program. And if you don't know about that, you could visit our website at momsforliberty.org and go to the drop down on Madison Meetups. And it's very simple. It's like a book club. It's just what we did in my home during that time. And it takes you through the Declaration and then the Constitution. We hope to grow the program out eventually to the Federalist Papers and some other areas.
Exciting.
It's also led to what we do at our chapter meetings, which is we open them up with a
Madison Minute.
And what is a Madison Minute, Karen?
A Madison Minute is when we invite someone to share a quote from one of our founding fathers. And sometimes it has a connection with whatever we're talking about that night. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it's just inspirational. But it forces us to kind of delve into those founding fathers' words. And sometimes I think that's hard, and what I find hard is I'll find something and you have to figure out if it's real.
Oh, goodness. Yeah. I didn't even think about talking about that.
Yeah.
People will say, I'm going to give the Madison Minute. And I always say, I want you to source where that came from.
Yes.
Because quotes.com or whatever is not always true.
Yes. I found that to be
I found this on the internet, Abraham Lincoln or whatever. So it's very important to actually find the source of where they said it and go back and read it. Sometimes read the context too, to understand what they were talking about.
Yeah. And I always tell the members of our chapter, they don't need to be very, very long. It doesn't need to be some big sermon. It can just be a quote, which I think helps it not to be so intimidating, but just the fact that we're honoring our founding fathers, we're remembering that that's how this all started, I think is healthy. I think it's healthy for our organization.
Yeah, it's great. And just so everyone knows, for America's birthday is next year, our 250th birthday of the United States of America, of the signing of the Declaration of Independence. And so we've got some programs that we're building out and developing right now. And we're going to repackage, reband, relaunch, and put some juice into our Madison Meetup program.
I'm excited about that.
Because early on in Moms for Liberty, everyone that signed up for a chapter got a Madison Meetup kit.
Yes.
And people were purchasing them, and we were getting a bunch of emails about how they were hosting them in their homes and in their local libraries and coffee shops and really enjoying that. But it's kind of fizzled out. I think everybody's busy now and back to it. And we're not so scared about all of our constitutional and natural rights anymore. Everything's going to be fine.
But I think that's a problem. I think that we see that in our chapter too, that we can't be complacent. We can't look what happens when we're complacent, Yeah.
So we're going to put some fireworks behind it and some bells and whistles and hope that people can get re-engaged with it, because I think it is very important. So I'm hoping you'll be part of helping us unroll that, unleash that. And so, we start off in my home and with these early stage Madison meetups, which by the way are named after James Madison, the father of our Constitution, in case anyone doesn't know that. And you are there the night we open the box of t-shirts. Cause of course I get this harebrained idea. I join up with a couple other school board members, and we're going to take this whole Madison Meetup idea, combine it with our concerns that we've seen on the school board and other places with the stepping on parental rights. And I made the little logo, and I bought some navy blue t-shirts and slapped it on there. And I opened the box in my living room. And
I still remember you walking down the hall holding the box. You were so excited. You're like, guys, look at these t-shirts.
And you guys all just so graciously put them on. And we took those pictures in front of my fireplace and TV there. With the shirts over whatever we had on for the night. And that's where it started. No idea about, drafting of bylaws and legal structures and all the things that were coming our way. No idea of what the next 4.5 years we're going to hold. Like just no idea. It was a fun idea. I mean, I can think of 14 other t-shirts I had printed over the previous 10 years for whatever idea I had. And so
this really took off.
Yeah, this one kind of stuck. Yeah. And so it's amazing. Okay, so there you are. And then we decided in January of 2021, this is a real thing. I filed the paperwork on January 1st, 2021, started filling it out in December to launch Moms for Liberty. Right. And then that first week of January, we hold our first official chapter meeting with a joint with Indian River County down there. Jennifer Pippin and Ashley Hall here were the first two chapter chairs. And you were there that night, right? We were at Frog Bones here in Melbourne, and it was packed. We packed to the seams. And I was looking back through pictures the other day, and just a lot of the same people, like Monique, she gave the Madison Minute that night. The very first Madison Minute that was ever given and ever titled was Monique Miller, who is now on our board of directors and serving in the Florida House. And so,
a true friend to Moms for Liberty.
Yeah, it's been a wild 4.5 years. And so, and you're, as I'm looking through pictures these last few days, like you're there. You're there, not always in a speaking role, not always the most forward facing person on this,
that
but
would
you
be
are
true.
You are consistently
you
there.
had to drag me into this.
But so then you joined the chapter, and what types of things were you doing early on as a chapter member?
It was a lot of information gathering, information sharing. It was a lot of attending school board meetings, and we would have a whole group, a whole gaggle of us would go, and we'd wear our blue t-shirts, and
because I had a whole lot more printed by then.
yes. And just try to be engaged. Of course, the mask mandates were an issue that we, I think was great because you had so many people that were passionate about that. And so we had so many people that were on board to help. And so that was
so you were going to school board meetings early on, just like when you were 9. You're back at them again. Yep. Maybe that's why you were so comfortable to go. Were you speaking at school board meetings?
Not at first. At first, I was an observer, and I was happy being an observer. And then I just kind of felt like, first of all, there was a great dissension about medical issues surrounding COVID-19, and so there were a lot of speakers that spoke about they would give all these reasons why they could give all these medical opinions, and then they would spout off all these medical opinions, and many I didn't believe in, but I didn't feel really qualified to do that. But I knew that I was a teacher. I knew that there was a problem with children having a mask on their face. I knew that had lasting impact in other ways. And so I felt qualified that I could get up and talk about that. So I felt like that was my responsibility. And so I did start doing that. I didn't like it, but I did it. And
you didn't like it. So you didn't want to be in front of the microphone speaking.
I did not like it. That is not really
Why'd you do it?
I just felt like it was my responsibility. I felt like if I didn't do it, who was going to do it?
Which is what we're going to title this episode, If Not You, Who? Because when I look at your story, I feel like often you're just like, dang it, not me, who?
I didn't really seek out all these things.
Yeah. Yeah, if not
But
you, who?
I'm very grateful. I'm grateful that I had those experiences. I'm grateful that I could share my views with the school board because, like I said, I did feel qualified to talk about those things. And then we had a special needs child here in Brevard County that was masked, and so I kind of got onto that bandwagon and felt very qualified to stand up and say and explain why that was a problem. And so I was more comfortable with that because I did feel like I had something that I could contribute, but I was still not very happy about it.
So we move from that. You're still part of the chapter. The chapter is booming, just like chapters all across the country are. I mean, there were chapters in New York and Tennessee where hundreds of people were showing up to chapter meetings. It was a wild time.
It was.
And our chapter leaders were a force to be reckoned with, trying to wrangle all of these people, making news, making headlines. It was really intense, but a lot of unhealthy emotions also at times. You know, when we spoke yesterday, you were just talking about even you, one of the nicest people I know, you were kind of snarky. You were saying,
yes, it was very, very frustrating. We had a member of the board that she would say one word and it was like nails on a chalkboard. It would just be like, oh my gosh. And I'm not usually that way about people, but it was just driving me nuts. And I would be on my phone and all the people around me were like, whoa, to be saying things. And we all had kind of a group thread going. I'd be like, we must stay calm. We must be joyful warriors. But inside I was just really, and I did not feel as joyful because it was very frustrating. It was very frustrating that, she had that power to kind of sway things and it was going in ways that we did not want it to go. And it was frustrating, and all of the members felt that frustration and concern. And but I think when we went down that road, we were not as productive.
Good. I think that's a great takeaway. Yeah. So when you're feeling those hostile, snarky feelings, you're probably not going to be able to communicate with others and get where you need to go. It
does not work as well.
So let's now move to June 11th. I know the date because
I do too.
June 11th of 2021. We're 6 months old. It
was your birthday.
It was my birthday. That's why I know the date. And we decided we're going to put on a big old event. Moms for Liberty is going to be on the map. Yes. And, there's a whole story about it, but
it was so exciting.
We decided to invite Megyn Kelly.
Oh my gosh.
Which was way out of our reach of having $2,500 in our bank account. And
I remember thinking, how are we going to get her here? And you call and say, do you know anyone that owns a jet? No,
we've got to get her here. She's willing to come, but all of these things. It was really,
it was very exciting.
It was very remarkable. And then I learned at this moment that apparently Karen Fulton is the biggest Megyn Kelly fan.
I like to call her MK.
Yeah. I'm sorry, her nickname MK to you. And you said, who you really need to get a hold of is Abby.
Yes.
And I said, who's Abby? And you're like, Abby, because you listen to the show so much. You're like, if you get a hold of Abby, you'll be able to get Megyn here. And
that's exactly right.
Long story short, Abby is the key.
Abby is
Everything.
wonderful. Yeah.
And so we have Megyn Kelly here in Brevard County.
Abby is your Amy.
Yeah. So we get Megyn Kelly here.
Yes. It's so exciting.
Yeah. Did you get to meet her?
I did get to meet her.
And how'd that go?
I just really enjoyed, I listened to all of her podcasts. I really enjoyed her take on things. And so when I met her, I was totally a fangirl. I was just like, I'm so happy to meet you. I was just so ridiculous. And, but what was interesting was I did get to talk to her for a minute and I said, I listened to all of your podcasts and my favorite podcast was the one you did for Memorial Day. And she's like, that's my favorite. Oh. And I think she realized that I really had listened to her podcast.
You weren't faking. You weren't a fake fan.
Yeah,
you were
and I
legit.
said, and I know Abby. And she said, have you met Abby? And so I got to meet Abby. was wonderful. And I just, it was really a fun thing for me. I still listen to Megyn Kelly all the time. I think she's, and she's a good friend of Moms for Liberty.
Yeah. She helped put us on the map by coming here.
Definitely.
She was going through the same things with her children at the time, with gender ideology and her very
That's
expensive private school. She had to pull them out. And so she's become a huge advocate for the same issues that we've been fighting.
Definitely.
But that night, we had almost 1,000 people show up. It was the only hotel that wasn't forcing masks on people. And so it wasn't the greatest hotel,
No.
but it hosted us. And we had an amazing event. Megyn did a great job. And she did something from the stage. What was
Let
that?
me tell you. So we'd had that conversation. And then when she was on stage, she said something. I met Karen and I just couldn't even help myself. I'm not usually like this, but I said, I love you, Megyn Kelly, from the audience. And she said, oh, Karen, I love you too. She was just so kind. And when I got home, I was home for a few days when I had a package on my doorstep of her book that she had inscribed inside, a very, very nice note that I will keep forever. That was just a special thing for me that Megyn Kelly said my name, it's just so.
Yeah. Courage finds
fun.
courage, I think. And whether
She
you're
was very inspiring.
And
that night.
you're Megyn Kelly. You've got loads of money. You're world renowned. You've got global awards. You've interviewed presidents of the United States and foreign leaders. But it took a lot of courage for her to speak out on those issues at that time.
Definitely.
And meanwhile, you're down at the local school board also speaking out on these issues at the time. And so courage found courage that night. And so that's why she gave you the shout out. And that's why you got the book in the mail, because you're
that's nice.
courageous, Karen.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Don't cry. Don't cry. Although there's tissues over there, because I think Amy realized that every episode seems to have a tear or two in it. And so, you remember the chapter, you're going to school board meetings, things are hostile, you get to meet Megyn Kelly, and time goes on. And I'll be honest, the chapter flipped the school board here. They got who they wanted. The original chair, Ashley, resigned. She was wore out. She had small children.
The work that woman did.
She had small children. She went back to work full time to help provide for her family. And so she resigned. And the local chapter, one of the very first 2 chapters in the U.S., went through a really hard time after that, looking for a leader. I think we had 4 or 5 chapter chairs that turned over pretty quick. There was, infighting. There was people not being nice to whoever stepped in. They didn't think they were a good leader. There was discouragement. There was all kinds of
It was a very difficult time.
It was a difficult time. And as, leading this national organization, seeing so many chapters thriving across the country, I was heartbroken. And so there was a period of time where I was like, well, I guess I'll run the chapter. Which was ridiculous.
I don't have anything else to do.
Yeah, which is ridiculous, but I wasn't going to let our home chapter die. And I don't remember how you became chapter chair here in Brevard County. Has it been a year now?
Almost
a year. I don't remember how you became chapter chair. Maybe you do.
Are you really serious?
Yeah, I don't remember.
Well, you asked
all I knew
me.
is all my problems were gone one day. And
you asked me several times, actually, and I would tell you no, and you would say, "Just pray about it." And I thought, "Oh my gosh!" And I would pray about it, and I really did get the answer of yes. And then I would go back to you, and I'd say no.
Are you serious,
Yes,
Karen?
that happened like 3 times, and
shame on you.
I felt very busy in my life. Which was true. I was very busy. I don't work outside the home, but I take my job as a Nana very seriously.
How many are you a Nana of?
I have 3 grandchildren and 1 on the way. And I love those little kids like nobody's business.
And 2 are live in another country, and so that's
2.5 live in
2.5.
New Zealand, which makes it a little difficult. But I'm very dedicated to my grandchildren, and so I actually my son was divorced, and his daughter, he had time with her. But he needed assistance too. And so I did a lot with her when she was especially younger. And so anyway, I just felt like I did not have time to be doing this because I have other responsibilities.
God had other plans for you, Karen.
Yeah. I mean, I had other responsibilities, and I just felt like I was too busy, and there was no way I could do it. I mean, really, when I think of the specifics of it, I really shouldn't do it. And I didn't want to do it if I couldn't really do it right. And so anyway, I told you no. And then you asked again. And I started thinking, this is a founding chapter of Moms for Liberty. I always believed in Moms for Liberty, even those times I was saying no. I believe in the mission. I believe in you. I believe in everything that this stands for. And so I also felt like my grandchildren, I was hoping there's someone in their community that is standing up for these things. And since I don't live in their same community, I'm hoping that that's happening. And then I think of my community here, and I think I need to serve this community. And so I just felt like it was my responsibility. And so I thought, well, I am busy, but you know what? We'll just make it work.
What role did Mark play in all of this?
Oh my goodness.
Mark is the husband, by the way, in case somebody wants to know. And I'm guessing, did you tell him I had asked you to be chair?
Oh,
did you tell him you prayed about it?
I did.
And where was this going?
I did. And he said, he never bought into my no answers. He always said, oh, you could do that. Yeah, that would be great. He really believes in Moms for Liberty. He believes in our organization. He very much believes in you. I mean, we tried to help you with your school board races.
Yeah.
He really,
you guys actually hung the biggest Tina for School Board sign. We already talked about that you live on the water.
Yeah.
And you hung the biggest sign if you're over the river.
Because we felt like more people see our backyard than our front yard because we live on a cul-de-sac.
Thank you for that. I'm not sure if I ever said thank you for that.
Yes, that's fine.
The other thing, though, about you and Mark is you guys come to summits. You came to the first summit in Tampa.
Yes, let's talk about Summit. We love Summit. Mark loves Summit. I love Summit. I mean, you're with your people. The speakers are amazing. It's just such, I think about Allie Beth Stuckey getting up that one time. I think that was in Tampa, maybe.
That was in Tampa.
And she said, these are my people.
She said, you are my people.
Yes.
You are my people. She said it like 3 times.
People. That's how she started her talk out. And she, and she's exactly right. These are my people, and there's nothing that buoys you up more than being around your people.
How do you feel when you go to Summit?
Oh, I just feel energized, and I feel proud of what has been accomplished. I feel like we're on the right track. There's so many times when we're kind of beaten down by outside influences, certainly mainstream media that tells us, how crazy things are. And so you get with your summit people and you're like, wow. And I can't say enough. I have met the nicest people in this organization from all over the country that are just the nicest people that I could ever meet. And I'm very proud to call my friends. I did have a time where I was telling you no, because I was so busy. One of the things I was doing was I was on the interview team to interview prospective chapter chairs. And I did love that. I would much rather do that. I loved that. I loved the people that I worked with. It was great. It was really fun. It was really fun to talk to people from all over the country about these things that we're all feeling strongly about, and such accomplished people. It was, I did really, really enjoy that. And that was part of my thing was I would think, I just want to keep interviewing. I don't want to do that. Plus interviewing, you're just doing it at your house and you don't have to stand up in front of a lot of people.
You like to be behind the scenes. So back to Summit.
Yes,
I'm going to plug Summit here now.
Yes.
So Summit 22 in Tampa, your favorite thing was? Short answer?
definitely just the speakers.
The speakers.
Yeah.
Summit 23 in Philadelphia. I'm going to give you
Oh.
like 2 takeaways because that one was a beast.
It was. But, I don't know. I don't know if maybe being in Moms for Liberty has helped me just to kind of feel like, what are they going to, they're not going to do anything,
Who's
Because
not gonna do
I mean, as
anything?
far as we had a lot of demonstrators and
I
that
love
kind
how
of
you
thing.
call them demonstrators. They were protesters. They were angry protesters.
They were very angry with us.
Yeah.
But, anyway, so that was just kind of an interesting
But your favorite part
thing.
of
The
Summit
favorite
23?
part, again, would be the speakers and just gathering with our people.
Okay, same
and
things.
meeting people that I talked on the phone or heard on chapter meetings. I had seen their picture, but I had never met them in person. And it's like, oh, how fun to get to meet you and hug you. And
Yeah,
it was
it's
great. Yeah.
And so for those that are watching, Summit tickets are on sale now. It's October 16th through the 18th in Orlando, Florida at the Gaylord this year. It's going to be bigger than ever, Karen.
I know.
We've maxed out
I'm
at
signed up.
700 before. This year we could have between 1,500 and 2,000.
So we need to bring people.
We need to bring people. Early bird tickets are on sale right now. They end at they end at the end of May though. And so that saves you $70, which is a really good deal. It's going to be, we have more speakers than ever because Saturday this year, we're flipping the room to theater style and we're doing just a
nice.
continental breakfast and box lunch instead of the big
Oh,
meals on
good.
Saturday
Good.
so that we can do back-to-back main stage speakers and panels because we have so many big names and important things to discuss that everyone wants to be part of. One of the things we've heard is they
Yes.
love the breakout sessions, but they can't get to them all and
Yes.
they
And you
can't.
feel like you're missing out on
Yeah.
something.
And so we're still doing plenty of breakout sessions on Friday and Saturday afternoon, but Saturday morning, we're going to make everything available to everyone. And so
Oh, it is totally worth your time and energy and whatever you have to do to get there.
momsforliberty.org/summit25. We are the Fire of Liberty show. Today, I've got Karen Fulton here with me, the chapter chair of the Brevard County, Florida chapter. I'm Tina Deskovich, CEO and co-founder of Moms for Liberty. And we're going to talk now a little bit about you being chapter chair. So
Yes.
you have decided you're not going to be chapter chair. I have apparently asked you multiple times to be the local chapter chair because the chapter was struggling.
Yeah.
And, we're an open, honest organization. And some people would say, don't go on a podcast that's being broadcast to tens of thousands of people and talk about your struggles.
Oh.
Don't talk about
I forgot we were talking to tens of thousands of people.
I'm
just teasing.
sorry. Yeah. And so, don't talk about that you had a chapter, your home-based chapter that really had no one, meetings were getting canceled because no one was showing up. It had no leader, which was the main problem.
Yeah.
It went through 4 or 5 leaders in a short period of time.
Who were
And-
wonderful women and wonderful.
yes.
I mean, wow, you have to hand it to them. I mean, they really did go through a lot during that time.
Each one beautiful and
Yeah.
unique and strong
Yeah.
in their own ways.
Definitely.
And the things that were thrown at them, a couple of them were
Exactly.
just unfair and not
Exactly.
right. But, for whatever reason, no fault of theirs, it wasn't working here in our chapter. And
Right.
we hear that from some of our early chapters. And part of it is, it's just hard to go from hundreds of members.
Yeah.
I mean, at one point early on, we had almost 2,000 people on our mail list just in Brevard County. And, we were busting out. Like we were bringing in the lawn chairs at the venue and people were standing, we were meeting, we were exceeding fire codes and people
Yes.
could not come in, to 5 people. And you don't realize the power of those 5 people because you're like, well, we just had 1,000 and now we only have 5. And so, but I just want to tell everyone, you included, and I know we've had this conversation, there is 13,000 school districts in this country. There's 3,000 counties in this country. If we had 5 people in every county showing up at every school board meeting, keeping an eye on, reporting back to the 1,000 that are on the newsletter list when there's
Right.
problems, it changes the face of America. It changes school boards. It's very important. So that's something I feel like you uniquely have understood, because even when the chapter was struggling and there was no leaders, you kept showing up where?
Well, I did try to go to as many school board meetings as I could and the chapter meetings that I could go to.
And were you always there with a big group of 100 people?
No, no. And right now I even, will be by myself many times, which is fine. I mean, everybody does what they can do.
Are you wearing a Moms for Liberty shirt?
Every time I come in the whole garb, and then it's almost like a challenge, because I walk in and I get the dirty looks, and I'm just put a bigger smile on my face, and it's been fine. I know there's a lot of people there that don't like us, and they talk about it in their public comments. They talk about how horrible we are, and all of this, but they have the right to do that, and I think they're pretty horrible too, but I'm not going to get up there and say that, because I'm going to try to be a joyful warrior. And I've discovered that it really does no good to do that. But yeah, that's.
So how's it feel to sit in a school board meeting with maybe 100 people that don't like you alone in your Moms for Liberty t-shirt, which is just saying, hate me sometimes to some people that have preconceived notions about us. And you just bravely go time and time again and report, and you
last
sit there.
Board meeting, our president of the school board said, "You're really brave to be here."
Are you serious?
Yeah, he did.
I love that.
And I said, "Yeah, but I have tried to reach out to the people, the haters, and tried to, I don't, they're not my best friends, but they're people. They have every right to have their opinions and their views, and I don't agree with them. They don't agree with my views.
Are they mean to you?
Not so much. Mostly they're kind of nice to me. Last meeting.
They feel bad for you because you're there alone?
Maybe. I don't know. I just take it on as a challenge that I try to smile and I try to be friendly to everybody. And, at first maybe I got a cold shoulder, but now I feel like, sometimes, there's one lady that we certainly have different opinions, but she sees me, she's like, "Hey, Karen." I saw her on election day, and she was across the street campaigning for her school board person. I was campaigning for mine, and she's like, "Hey, Karen."
So great.
So it is.
Great.
I think it's important. And I think children are watching. I think that, we need to show that we can have a civilized conversation. The last time last school board meeting, I gave a public comment. And we have someone in our county who is very anti-Moms for Liberty and has had very, I'd say, mean things to say about us. He took one of our pictures that we had posted in our private Facebook group somehow. I have no idea how they got it, but they got it. And he put it on his Facebook group and said that we were just like he thought that this group would be, just fat and ugly, he's not a nice person. Okay. But he got up to speak after I did, and he said, I appreciate, Karen's comment, and he didn't agree with it. And he went on to kind of give me some constructive criticism of how he felt like, but it wasn't mean-spirited, his comment at all. And I thought, well, I think that's progress. I think that's nice that he could get up and say.
I think you have rose-colored glasses. Well, but I do think that is helpful.
That might be
in being a joyful warrior,
because I am very much a glass half full kind of person.
It's good. So am I, actually. Yeah. So maybe that's why we're such good friends.
Yeah.
And so you're chapter chair now.
Yes.
And how's that going?
Well, it's going fine. I tell my team all the time that we
hold on, you have a team, which is
I know we are making progress. At the beginning, it was
the
just
beginning.
me.
Let's back up.
Okay.
So the beginning
was just me.
Let's go
okay
back
okay back.
No, I'm not going to be chapter chair.
Yes.
No, I'm not going to be chapter chair. Husband's telling you to be chapter chair
the whole time.
You're praying, you feel like God's telling you to be chapter chair. You tell me, no, you're not going to be chapter chair. When did you give in?
This past time when you asked. and I prayed again, and I got the answer yes. And my husband was telling me yes. And I thought to myself, someone has got to do this. We have to keep this chapter going. It would be totally wrong for it to flounder. It's wrong.
Did you do it because you felt bad that I was doing it? Was there any guilt? And did I help?
You are my friend, and I did feel. And you know what? I did really worry that you started taking on the job.
That's what I'm saying.
Yes, I did worry about you. I didn't like that at all. I thought this isn't right at all. You have too many things to be doing besides running this chapter. Yes, I didn't like that. So yeah, I started, and I never felt alone because, first of all, you've been behind me 1,000,000%. You
Always.
have totally supported me in everything. And I can't say how much I appreciate that. This whole national team, such support and love, I feel every time I walk in that door. That says a lot, and that does keep you going. And then I got a vice chair.
Woohoo!
And Chris Bird, who is wonderful and knows how to make things look pretty on the internet.
I just want to take a minute here because we have chapters in that situation right now across the country, and they just feel so discouraged. They're showing up to a school board meeting where a year ago they had 20 people with them, and now it's just them standing alone. They're holding a chapter meeting, and 3, 5, maybe 7 people show up, and they're feeling discouraged. What are the specific things that you have done? How did you get Chris to be your vice chair? How, what kind of events have you been holding? Because I feel like you're growing back into a really strong chapter, which is why I think we're
getting
today.
there for sure. Chris just came to me and said that she'd like to help. And so I said, fine. And as she helped and
how'd she get there to want to help?
She'd always been a part.
Yeah.
And so she just contacted me and said that she would make graphics. And I said, great, because I'm not good at that.
She's good at that.
Yeah, she's very good at that. And so she started doing that. And then she started doing more and more and more. And
as
we
a leader,
enjoyed each other.
Let her do more. I think that's an important thing to point out.
I had to let her do
more. You didn't have to. There are leaders
I
that
did.
do
I
not
couldn't do those things.
Well, there's some leaders that just don't open up like that. And so good job.
No, it was,
take the compliment.
Okay. Thank you. But I do appreciate Chris and all the work that she has put into this because she believes in the mission too. And then we'd have these chapter meetings and be like, well, do you think anybody's going to show up? And then as it got closer, I'd be like, oh, it's just going to be Chris and I. And if you're in town, you'll be there. And our speaker, and how bad do I feel to the speaker?
Yeah.
And we still don't have a ton of people come, but we certainly have more people coming.
You invited me to a Moms for Liberty picnic this week.
We did have a picnic.
And I showed up, and I think there were 30 people there.
Yeah, that was a great success. Yeah.
So I think you're back in it, Karen. I think you've revived the chapter with your team, because you do have a team now.
Yes.
Do you have a secretary or a treasurer?
We have a secretary and a treasurer. And I can't even, having not had it to having it,
it's great.
It just is such a relief. It's just so, but I always do tell them, we are not going to take off more than we can chew. We're going to be, because we're in this for the long run. We can't have this up and down of our chapter. We have to do this for a long time. And because I think that's what our chapter needs right now is just that consistency of the same people.
One more thing I want to touch on before we start wrapping this up, and it's your ability to connect and build relationships across the aisle. So one of the first events you did when you became chapter chair is you had a candidate forum.
Yes.
And who did you
because you told me to.
And who'd you reach out to?
Well, it was really interesting. We wanted to do it in partnership with someone. So we reached out to, there's a Satellite Beach women's group, and they're more liberal minded. But at first.
And who else?
And then the League of Women Voters.
Yeah, I think
we reached out to them.
That's important to say loud and clear. You reached out to the League of Women Voters in hopes of doing an event together.
Yeah.
And what'd they say?
Yeah. Well, they said no.
But
they also said we had great conversation with both of those groups about how we are nonpartisan. And they were like, well, people don't even know that. And I'm like, well, I will tell anybody that wants to hear. When someone is recruited to, or, asked to be a chapter chair, we tell people we are nonpartisan. It just so happens that more conservative groups are more friendly to us. That's just the nature of what we're doing.
And so did they come to the event?
They did come to the event. They came to the event. They didn't want to partner with us. They didn't want their name on anything, but they did come to the event. And the League of Women Voters brought literature that they wanted to put out on the table. It's totally fine with us. We did that. And they were very nice. We had that forum I thought was great.
Standing room only.
It was. And we had,
because you reached across the aisle. If you would have kept it closed and tight,
so.
only pointed to the conservative candidates, only invited people that were members, it would not have been what it was. It got media coverage.
Yeah.
Florida Today covered it.
Yeah.
Your room was standing room only,
Yeah.
and half the room or more were people that you may not agree with on issues. So,
yeah. And I tried to explain about in the beginning of that, how that was very, inspirational to me, that we had those people that could sit down side by side, because we were there for the students of Brevard County. We were not there for ourselves,
I love
although
that.
there might have been a little bit of that. But we really all do care about the kids, even the people on the other side of the aisle. You know, we don't agree about how to get there, but they care about kids too. And so, and the League of Women Voters, they had their literature. And at the next school board meeting, I took their leftover literature that they had left on the table. And I said, I don't know if you need these, but I just brought these. And the League of Women Voters later like, that is so nice. I said, sure. I mean, how hard is that though? That is not a hard thing to do.
No, I think one of your great gifts, talents, and skills is this relationship building, which is one of the 3 Moms for Liberty core values. We stand for truth, we empower others, which I'm seeing you do, and we build relationships. And you are one of the best people I have seen at that. You bring muffins to people that don't like you. You collect their materials.
Who's going to turn down pumpkin chocolate chip muffins,
Yeah. Well, I think you use all the tools in the toolbox to break down the barriers and the preconceived notions about Moms for Liberty. And so you're such a good representative of Moms for Liberty. And I just want to thank you for that.
Well, thank you.
So a couple quick questions as we close out. Would you say yes again?
Yeah, I would. Especially if it was to help. I would, because honestly, now that I have a full functioning board, especially, it's not as hard as I kind of built it up in my mind.
Words of wisdom to a chapter that's struggling right now.
Yeah, I would say just keep at it. Just keep trying, keep reaching out to people, keep taking advantage of opportunities. This past year, we've done a couple of events where we have gone out in the community and set up our little tent. And we've had people come by that maybe aren't going to come to our chapter meetings, but we've had so many people that have just expressed their appreciation for what we do. And so selfishly, it's kind of a boost for us that we get to see these nice people.
There are people that support Moms for Liberty.
Oh my gosh, and we always have our little donation jar out. And I think it's so interesting that usually it's the grandpas that come by and put money in.
So cute.
So sweet. And they always tell us how much they appreciate it. And I think, wow, it does buoy you up to see that, for sure.
Okay. Closing statement here. What does it mean to be a joyful warrior?
I think the whole idea of being a joyful warrior is so inspired in our organization, because I think that's what really drives it. I think that we, as a joyful warrior, are more productive, but also we enjoy the ride. We enjoy the way along the way. If it wasn't so joyful, who's going to want to keep doing this?
I love that. And I think we're going to close on that.
Let's do.
Enjoy the ride, because there's a lot here to enjoy. And so we're going to close out the Fire of Liberty show. We're going to ask you to follow us on Apple, Spotify, iHeart. Like us, go ahead and rate us, hopefully 5 stars, leave a comment, share it with 10 of your friends. You can catch us live every Wednesday morning at 10 a.m. on X, on Facebook, on YouTube, and now on Rumble too. So we're conquering all the outlets. You can find
We're
everywhere. And again, if you liked this conversation with Karen, if you've listened to the last 3 episodes and you want others to feel inspired and encouraged to stand up in America when we are fighting this culture war, follow us on all the outlets, share it with 10 friends so that they can also be uplifted by these conversations. And thank you. We'll see you next week, 10 a.m. on all the outlets.